guest, Lizzie Deignan. God knows why I called you Liz. Does anyone call you Elizabeth?
No, I was impressed. Thank you.
I must have had the queen in my head or something. Yeah, how are you enjoying Rouleur? This is the second year in a row you've been here. You must quite like it.
Yeah, you can't get rid of me. No, I'm enjoying myself very much. Yeah, I've had a good day. Thank you.
Are you doing any tourism while you're in London? I remember last year you went to the London Eye with Elisa Longo-Borghini.
Yeah, do you know, this morning I should have had a poster above my head saying "Stupid Northerner." I was lost. Completely lost trying to find the tube station, and so no, my tourist time got taken up by being lost.
Okay, so I was going to leave this bit till later in the conversation, but I think we should broach this subject now. We could have gone into it organically, and I could have cleverly designed the questions to bring this answer out, but you have news.
I have news, yes.
Would you like to share your news with us?
Yeah, I have decided that next season, 2025, will be my last season as a professional cyclist. Sorry.
I was thinking a round of applause for the marvellous career.
Yeah.
And also, doubtless, the excellent season that you're going to have ahead of you. So, why have you come to this decision now?
Do you know, I think every good thing comes to an end, and if I'm really honest with you, I'm just not as motivated as I used to be, and I'm tired, quite simply. I think it'd be really easy for me to blame the kids, to blame family life, balance, and all the rest of it, but really it comes from within, and I'm just not the driven athlete I once was. You know, simple as that.
Yeah, and I do remember you, though, early in your career. I think you said that you couldn't really see yourself being a professional beyond 30. So you've gone further. You've done 18 seasons, I counted, as an athlete. So I guess that's a fairly good shift, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm really proud of the fact that I have committed myself to being the best athlete I could be for 18 years. It's a very long time to live the life of an athlete, and yeah, I never ever in my wildest dreams thought that I'd be in this position, but I've been fortunate to be part of the growth of women's cycling, and the last couple of years I didn't want to walk away from something that I felt I'd finally was getting the opportunities I deserved. So,
yeah. And you're kind of it's your second comeback. I mean, you've done 2 seasons since the birth of your second child, Shay. How's this phase of your career been? Has it been like the post-Orla phase and before, or has it been different?
It's been different. I think, you know, I've kind of prepared myself for the questions of why now, why you're stopping, and part of the reason is I have lost my why, I suppose. You know, every day you need to motivate yourself to get up, to put yourself through pain, through suffering, and you need to have a why. And in the beginning of my career, it was because I wanted to be world champion, I wanted to win Flanders, and I did all those things. And then after the birth of my daughter, it was about proving that women are capable as mothers, and I achieved that. And then I had my son Shay, and the comfort zone of not suffering anymore kind of became a bit more appealing, to be honest. I think I've lost my why a little bit. And, you know, the Olympics in Paris was definitely something that I wanted to focus on. That was missing from my career. And, you know, I almost did a good ride, didn't quite pull it off. But my why next year is to help the next generation. But it's only enough for me to do another season. Yeah,
and I guess it's been a while since you were winning the biggest races, and I guess you've had 2 children as well, and I guess your role in the team and as a rider has changed out of necessity and reality.
Yeah, I think so. What really drives me is winning races, and there's definitely been points in the season this year where, if I'd ridden a bit more conservatively or not given my all in certain areas, then perhaps I could have pulled off a top 5 or a top 10, but I'm really not interested in anything other than winning, and to me, a teammate winning is really valuable, and I want to be a part of that, so I'd rather commit my strengths to that than,
And what do you do within the team to help this? What's your kind of role? What are your strengths? How do you work with the team in terms of interpersonal dynamics, etc.?
All sorts. I think the role of a good team captain is on and off the bike. It's about looking at the riders' faces at breakfast and realizing who needs, an arm around the shoulder and a bit more support, but also on the bike. For instance, Gaia Realini, her performance at the Tour de France, she was 5th in the Tour de France. It wasn't a great Tour de France route for her. We had 3 days in Holland, and as a 42-kilo climber, that was a tough ask. So I basically was her bodyguard for the whole of the Tour de France until the bottom of the Alpe d'Huez. And I did it, and I really feel that had a huge impact on her end result. So that's really satisfying for me.
Do you have to throw your weight around a bit to make way for Gaia Realini in the peloton?
No, let's say in Holland there was about one stage, I think there was over 200 corners, and I couldn't get out of the saddle after any of those corners, because if I get out of the saddle, there's a 5-meter gap instantly. So, I was really putting myself through pain, suffering for her, but she's a brilliant leader, she's a brilliant rider, she's grateful for it, and it was worth it.
Is that a change do you have to change your mindset to ride like that? Because for a lot of your career, you're an out-and-out team leader, you're winning big races, and that job is very different from the job you did for Realini.
Yeah, but at the start of my career, I was a domestique. I think I have worked my way up to that leadership role. I was riding for Emma Pooley and Sharon Laws and Kirsten Wild. She was an incredible sprinter, and she would tell you if you're doing your job properly or not. So I learned quite a lot from those women too. Yeah,
and you've been with your team for several years, and part of the compelling story that you've had with that team is that they've supported you through raising a family and having children, and they were kind of pioneering in that belatedly. But they've helped you, but what has been your input into the team? I mean, you've been part of it from the very beginning. I remember at the announcement at the press conference at the Tour de France, you were there to help announce the team starting, and it seems like you're an integral part of that outfit.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'd like to think so. I'd be proud to be seen like that. Culture in a team is a very important thing, and it relies on the attitude of leaders. And one of the most underestimated and undervalued parts of cycling is the teamwork that is involved. And I would like to think that, as somebody who has won big races, that I can show that it's valuable to be a worker as well is something to be respected. And
are you teaching the younger riders the kind of the ways of the races, the strategies, the tactics, what to do?
Yeah, absolutely.
Who to ask when they have problems,
All sorts of things, yeah. I think one of the main things I'm trying to instill in them is confidence. You wouldn't believe how much, self-doubt goes on the team bus amongst some of the best riders in the world, and it's such a shame and so frustrating, because if only, you had the power of Elisa Longo-Borghini, and you just think, wow, if only you knew how good you are. And that's part of my role, I think, empowering them to believe in themselves. Yeah.
So you're kind of a road captain now?
Yeah.
Yes, and how does that role kind of work for you?
I like it a lot, yeah. There's a big difference. Being the favourite going into a race, having people work for you is a very different pressure than being the person who gets to completely empty the tank. As a domestique, there is no fear involved, because your only job is to go as hard as you can for as long as you can and keep coming back. And if you get dropped, you keep coming back again. Whereas as a leader, you're saving energy all the time, and the pressure's on you to deliver. So it's a very different feeling.
Yeah. And how's the experience of having two kids? Has it been twice as difficult as having one kid and running career? Is it exponentially more difficult? Have the logistics been easier now that you've got experience? How's it been?
Well, Orla, our first baby, was much harder than our second baby. We got it the good way around, I think. My son has been a brilliant sleeper from the start. All those things, I think, that's why it's really important that when I'm asked about maternity and sport or balancing things in motherhood. I want to be really open and honest. My husband is a full-time father. That's how I am able to do what I do, and I owe so much to him. For all his support.
Yeah. And you're back in Yorkshire now as well. You moved home. How has that been?
I love it. Yeah, there's a lot to be said for living in the UK. People ask me, "What on earth are you doing? Why are you going back?" But I love the people, the warmth of the people, the roads, the culture. There's so many people out on their bikes. Love it.
Yeah. So you've done 18 seasons. We all change a lot over 18 years. The sport has changed a great deal over 18 years. And really, those 18 seasons have seen women's cycling go from a very small affair to it is growing and growing and growing, and people are engaging much more with it. It's really capturing people's imaginations. You've been kind of an integral part of all that. So take us back to the very start of your career. What was it like going into a professional career at the time, and how was it different from now?
Well, I remember my first sort of discussion about signing a contract, and it was €200 a month. That was my wage, and I did every single race there was. We went in a van to the races, drove all over Europe from Belgium, and then I would get home from a race and I would think, where is the local kermesse with the most prize money? Because I needed the money. I went, I did my own bottles, I looked after myself, and all those things that at the time were very hard, but I'm really grateful that I had those experiences, because even now I don't take the fact that I have a team bus for granted. I'm really grateful for every opportunity, every member of staff that helps me. I really appreciate. And like you say, the transformation has been huge, and the opportunities now that women have at the start of their career is just brilliant. Yeah,
because of course the perception was that, because you did enter the sport at the time when British cycling was starting to really get moving and rolling in terms of international success at the Olympics and getting more road pros, and it had, on the men's side, things were really moving fast. But from the way you tell it, you still had to fight your way up by your fingertips, and having to take part in kermesse races to earn money is a different story from being funded by British Cycling and it being easy.
Yeah, as a track rider, there was definitely the funding and the programs there, because it's a business. There's more medals on the track, there's more funding on the track, and that's the way it was. It didn't matter actually that Nicole Cook and Emma Pooley were winning Olympic medals on the road. That sort of got ignored somehow, but that has changed. That is totally different now that there's so many professional road teams now that you don't necessarily need the support of British Cycling. I think they fulfill their role very well now, and it's just a different landscape now. Yeah.
And how have you changed in 18 years, do you think? Which is quite a big question, really, isn't it?
Lots of ways. I think. You're young and you're a dreamer, and it's become more of a, I don't know, I've changed dramatically, yeah. I think the biggest thing I've learned with maturity and life experience is just gratitude and perspective on how lucky I am that I've been able to do this for my job for the last 18 years, yeah.
And have the races changed much from when you first took part in elite level international races to now?
Yeah, the strength and depth has completely changed the dynamic of the race. So, people will ask me about my power profile or whatever, and, when I was winning a lot of races, say in 2016, it wasn't that I wasn't, I'm a similar power profile now, but the difference was when I attacked in 2016, there was 5 or 6 people who could follow me. That was the race, that was the dynamic set. Whereas now, because of the strength and depth of the peloton, there's 20 people who can follow you, or 30 people. So the race stays together longer. You have to survive more and more attacks. It's much harder than it ever used to be. The level is really high now.
Yeah. And suppose it's a paradox. It's in a much better place now, the sport, and I hope it goes on to being in an even better place. But it's a lot harder to win races.
Yeah, I'm retiring at the right time.
Very good. So I had a quick look at your palmares in the course of researching this, and one of the striking things I think about your career is that you've pretty much won everything, mostly one time, which I think is quite a classy way of doing it. It's like you win a race, you've done it. What else are you going? Why else would you? Although you won Binder twice and Plouay 3 times, just to show that you could. But let's talk about some of your bigger results and bigger wins. What do you consider the real milestones in your career?
Well, it's hard to look past London 2012. That was just, as an athletic experience, but also, as a personal experience to be somebody who medalled at such an amazing moment in history for this country, not just cycling, but sport. To be part of that was, an absolute pinch me moment, and phenomenal experience. Nothing would ever top riding down the Mall and then being on the podium on the Mall in front of,
Yeah. Do you ever think back and think, I could have beaten Marianne Vos that day?
No, she was better than me. Yeah.
Fair enough. Let's talk about the days you were the best. I remember you saying quite a while ago that you always had a soft spot for the Tour of Flanders, which is one of the most multi-layered, textured, complicated, difficult races to win. There's so much culture, so much history around it, and it happens to be the one that you liked as well, and you managed to win it yourself.
Yes. Yeah, that was one of my favourite races to win. I only just won it, but it took plenty of tries to get there. But, I won it on a lunge, I think, yeah.
What was it about the Tour of Flanders that kind of appealed to you?
I think it is me in a bike race. It's about tactical awareness, relentless efforts, being able to recover quickly. Not there, but it's usually bad weather. And it just suits me. And
what are your memories of that day? It's fairly comfortable.
I had really bad legs, and I think that's actually why I won it, because I raced a little bit more conservatively than I normally would. It was just pure relief. I'd been knocking on the door for a few years, and it was finally time. And to win it in the rainbow jersey was really special.
Of course, the rainbow jersey as well. You won the World Championships, and that was you had a few tries at that as well. And a world title is it's different from the Tour of Flanders. The Tour of Flanders it's engaging and important to cycling fans. Like, we all know that it's the best race, or you and I know it's the best race. I'm sure everyone here knows it's the best race. And for the cycling cognoscenti, the Tour of Flanders win is absolutely on point. The world title, on the other hand, we also appreciate and love the world title, but it has general appeal, doesn't it? It has appeal beyond the world of cycling into the general public.
Yeah, to be able to say that you've been world champion, it's got a nice ring to it. Yeah, definitely. I'm extremely fortunate, I think, to be in a sport where you can kind of celebrate it every day you get on the bike. I still have rainbow rings to remind me 10 years later, which is quite nice. And it was an absolute dream come true to win the world title. Yeah.
And what are your memories of that day?
Oh, so many. It was a really odd day. I was favourite to win. I knew how to win. And I knew actually that I'd be on my own at the end of the race. The Dutch had 8. I started with 6, but each lap there was a bloke with a whiteboard on the side of the road, and he'd tell me which rider had just quit. And with 2 laps to go, I was the only British rider left in the race. But I didn't panic. I just had one of those days where I knew I was going to win, and I felt incredible. And to look back, I think, wow, who was that 25-year-old girl? I mean, amazing, yeah.
You seemed quite surprised, though, just after the finish line with your victory salute.
Yeah, because it's hard to take it all in, to just And looking back, I have regrets that my immediate feeling was relief. And that's something I learned from subsequently in my career, that it shouldn't be relief, it should be pure joy.
Can you explain that? Why was it a feeling of relief?
Because I was putting too much pressure on myself. It was totally all-consuming. It was all I thought about. It's all I did with my life. And yeah, it was just relief that, finally I've done it. And that's a little bit sad. And, since then, I really have loved every win and reveled in the joy of it.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that an indication of how you have changed and matured over the years, as we all do with life's experiences?
Yeah, I think it's a strange process to go through winning big things that you've dreamed about. I have perspective on it. It's a first world problem. But once you've achieved something massive, it's quite sort of flat afterwards. And unless you have lots of friends there to celebrate with, it's not that fun. Like, it's obviously a proud achievement, but it makes you sit back and question, was it worth it? Am I doing certain things right? And, I kind of reflected and changed a few things after that.
I didn't think I'd end up feeling sorry for you for winning the World Championship. So how did you address that? How did you deal with it? How did you kind of turn that feeling of relief into something more positive? Because you're winning races again by the next spring.
I suppose the year after, the question that you are asked when you become a world champion is, how are you going to avoid the rainbow curse? So I wanted to prove that this was a load of rubbish, and it wasn't a fluke, and I was the best in the world for a reason. And then 2016 was the year after. It was the Olympic year. It was the year that I had 3 strikes, and the world blew up in my face, and I really had to step back and think about what I was doing things for, and what was making me happy, what wasn't. And the year after, I got pregnant.
Okay, and the biggest recent memory of your big wins was the inaugural Paris-Roubaix Fram. Just an amazing way to win the race. There was so much speculation, so much pre-race analysis of what might happen, how it might be dealt with, who's going to do what on which sector. And you kind of just went off quite early in the race and won it. Which is a tactic.
Do you know, it really wasn't. We're heading into the first cobble sector. Everyone was so nervous. I'd already got rid of the nerves the week before in Leuven at the World Championships. I really wanted to win in Leuven. I didn't. I had bad legs. It was a rubbish day. I was over it, and I was in Roubaix ready to work for Ellen or Elisa. So on the bus, everyone was not happy, and washing machine effect. You're fighting for position. Crashes are happening left and right, and I just saw this gap on the left, and I just smashed it through. Turned round, and I saw that it was Loretta Hansen on my wheel, my teammate, and I hoped that she was smart enough to leave the gap, and she was. And
you taught her well. Good.
Taught her well, yeah. Thank you, Loretta. It's small things like that, that are unseen. People don't realise that, that was such a smart thing of Loretta to do, but it's about knowing each other and knowing the sport. And I got the call about, 50k to go, that I had to go 100%, and I was like,
because initially you weren't sure. You were kind of maybe questioning, should I go, should I not go, should I carry on?
Yeah, they said to me in the radio, Lizzie, just ride 80%, just stay safe, ride 80%. And then I didn't hear anything in the radio for ages, and I thought, well, what'll I do here? And I kept saying, what am I doing, what am I doing? And then I'd crackly, 100%. Okay, I'll go 100%.
Yeah, and what your memories of that from then on? Because there was a concerted chase behind you. It wasn't that far away from you.
The only time I was worried was when I heard that Voss was coming, and I thought, oh no, not her. Because the last section of cobbles in Roubaix is just absolutely sapping, and as soon as your momentum is gone on the cobbles, it's done. It can go bad quickly.
Oh, I know.
You know, it's a bit like if you're leading Flèche Wallonne at the bottom of the Mur de Huy and you've got 5 minutes, it doesn't mean anything. You know, you've got to get past those last section of cobbles. And I knew that when I still had a minute on Voss after the last section, I thought, okay, I've got this.
Yeah. And the team car had some issues, I seem to remember.
Yeah, the team car had a puncture. They rode on a broken wheel for about 15 kilometres, and then the mechanic got a bike off the roof and rode behind me for as long as he could because he was so scared that something would go wrong.
Do you know, I feel quite sorry for that mechanic. You talk about pressure in your career. The pressure on that poor guy to keep up with you must have been immense.
Yeah, but it was such a team effort. We did, you know, so many members of staff put so much into it. I think I had a bottle offered to me on every cobbled sector. You know, I was really well looked after.
Yeah, and how did it feel to win?
Amazing. Yeah, phenomenal. Full of joy. There was no relief. It was brilliant. Yeah.
And so, one more season. No doubt you'll be racing a full program, full and interesting program. What are your ambitions and plans for next season? And then, what's going to happen afterwards? What are you going to do when you're not a professional
when I'm a
cyclist
has-been.
anymore?
No. I intend to have a really strong season next year, definitely. I mean, the level is just so high that, you know, I have to put everything into it again this winter. There's no hiding places anymore. And to be a good domestique, you have to be at the top of your game as well. So I intend to do that. I'd love to be able to deliver as many wins as I can for the team, develop that good culture amongst the young riders. We have a really interesting group of women coming through. I think we might not win as much as we did this year, next year, but long term, I think we've got a really good, strong group of women who can tackle the Grand Tours in the future, which is exciting.
Will Gaia Riolini be okay without you?
She asked me to stay on longer, yeah. But she'll have to be.
Yeah.
And yeah, there's Milan San Remo as well, which is obviously exciting. That's, you know, another monument, which would be amazing to be able to go for.
And then after September, October, after your last race, obviously go on holiday for a bit maybe.
Go on holiday. I'm absolutely determined to go on a holiday.
Yeah. And are you polishing up your CV for possible different jobs afterwards?
No, do you know, I know that I want to stay involved in cycling, definitely. I think, you know, it'd be a shame to waste 18 years of experience in it. What's clear to me is that I like working with people, and I'm not sure how that role looks exactly, but yeah, you won't miss me. I'll stay around.
Great. Okay, I'm afraid that is all we've got time for today. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Lizzie Deignan.